I sat at my kitchen table, the morning light filtering through the blinds, casting slanted shadows across the chipped mug cradled in my hands. The coffee had gone cold, bitter on my tongue, but I didn't move to reheat it. My mind was elsewhere, tangled in the threads of 25 years with James, my husband, the man I'd sworn my life to. The memory of our honeymoon in California burned brightest, a vivid reel of days when we were young, reckless with love, certain the world would bend to our will. Santa Monica Beach stretched endless before us, the Pacific's waves lapping at our bare feet, cool and teasing, as we raced across the sand, James's laughter chasing me like a melody. His grin then was unguarded, his hazel eyes catching the sun, promising me forever. Those moments weren't just memories, they were anchors, proof of a life I thought unbreakable. Back then, it felt like we'd slipped out of time's grip. We'd driven up the coast in a rented convertible, the wind whipping my hair, James's hand resting on my thigh. We hiked through redwood forests, their towering trunks swallowing us in quiet awe, until we found a creek hidden deep in the shade, its water so clear I could see pebbles winking at the bottom. We'd stood there, my sneakers sinking into the damp earth, his arm around my waist, feeling like the world had paused just for us. Our Monterey rental was a weathered clapboard cottage, its porch creaking under our weight as we watched sunsets bleed crimson and gold into the sea. I'd lean into him, his heartbeat steady against my cheek, and we'd sip cheap wine, drunk on each other more than the drink. Nights were a blur of candlelit dinners at hole-in-the-wall seafood joints, crab legs cracked open, butter dripping, his gaze never leaving mine. That trip wasn't a vacation, it was a vow carved in salt air and starlight, a promise I'd carried through every hard year since. Now, at 48, with faint lines etching my face and a house too quiet, I clung to those images, chasing their warmth. Lately, James had been different, gentler, almost like that boy from the beach. For weeks, he'd call me from work, his voice low and warm, asking about my day, teasing me like we were dating again. He'd come home with daisies, my favorite, or pull me close after dinner, his hands tracing familiar paths. I didn't question it, I was greedy for it, savoring the spark after years of routine. Our marriage had weathered storms, bills, my miscarriage before Emily, his long hours at the ad firm, but this felt like a revival. I let myself believe we were finding our way back, that love could stretch across decades and still fit. That morning, I'd woken with a plan, my heart fizzing like a teenager's. I'd surprise him, a steak dinner, his favorite, with rosemary and garlic, a bottle of Merlot from that winery we'd visited in Napa years ago. I'd wear the navy dress he loved, the one that hugged my curves, and maybe, just maybe, I'd tell him about the Big Sur cabin I'd booked for next month, a secret tucked in my pocket like a love letter. I drove to the market, humming, grabbing a pint of his mint chocolate chip ice cream, picturing his smile when he saw the spread. The cashier, an older woman with kind eyes, chatted about the weather, and I nodded, barely listening, my mind on James, on us. Pulling into the driveway, I noticed his car was gone, though he'd said he'd be home early. Odd, but I shrugged it off, maybe a last-minute errand. Inside, our daughter, Emily, sat on the couch, her phone glowing in her lap. At 22, she was all sharp edges and soft heart, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun. I dropped the groceries, grinning. "Hey, kiddo, where's Dad?" Her eyes flicked up, and something in them, worry, maybe pity, stopped me cold. She set the phone down, deliberate, like she was handling something fragile. "Mom, we need to talk." 2 weeks earlier, she'd come to me, her voice tight, sitting at this same table. "Mom, I saw something on Dad's phone. A text. It wasn't for you." I'd laughed, a reflex, because James cheating was absurd. He'd built me a shed for my gardening, stayed up with me when I had the flu, kissed me goodnight every evening. But Emily's face didn't crack. It was from someone named Lauren. They'd been meeting at a hotel. I heard him on a call, too, whispering her name. She'd shown me a screenshot she'd taken, flirty words, a time, an address. My stomach had lurched, but I'd pushed it down, told her it was a mistake. James wasn't that man. When I'd asked him later, my voice trembling, he'd cupped my face, sworn it was a colleague, nothing more. "You're my world, Hannah," he'd said, and I'd wanted to believe him so badly I did. Emily hadn't pushed, just held me, her silence louder than words. Now, her words cut through the haze. "He's not here, Mom. He left an hour ago with a bag." I checked his phone again, texts to Lauren. "They're at the Marriott tonight." The room tilted. Those calls, the daisies, his hands on me, it wasn't love. It was a mask, guilt dressed up as affection to keep me from seeing the truth. I sank onto the couch, my legs giving out, the grocery bag spilling apples across the floor. Emily knelt beside me, her hand on my knee. "I'm so sorry. I don't know how I ended up in our bedroom, but there I was, ripping through his side of the closet." A receipt fluttered out, dinner for two at a bistro we'd never gone to, dated last month. In his desk, a hotel keycard, the Marriott's logo glaring. Then, in his briefcase, a note, Lauren's handwriting, all loops and hearts, thanking him for last weekend. My hands shook, piecing it together. Months, maybe years, he'd been slipping away, building a life I wasn't part of while I planned dinners and dreamed of cabins. The boy from the beach was a ghost, this James was a stranger. I collapsed onto the bed, the navy dress crumpled beside me, and let the sobs come, raw, jagged things that clawed my throat. Emily found me, curling up beside me, her voice steady. "You're stronger than this, Mom. You are." Sleep didn't come that night. I lay awake, the ceiling a blank canvas for my memories, Emily's first bike ride, James cheering, our 10th anniversary, dancing in the backyard, quiet mornings when he'd bring me coffee. Had he been lying even then? By sunrise, the grief hardened into something else, rage, clean and sharp. He'd broken us, not me. I called a locksmith, my voice calm, and watched him swap out the locks, the clank of metal final. Emily helped me pack his suits, his ties, his golf magazines, her movements brisk. "He doesn't get to stay," she said, taping a box shut. We loaded it all into my car, drove to a shelter downtown, donated every stitch. I kept his watch, silver and scratched, not for sentiment but as a reminder, I'd survived worse than him. James texted the next day, "Hannah, what the hell? Where's my stuff?" I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering, then deleted it. He showed up that evening, pounding on the door, his voice muffled but desperate. "Let me explain." Emily faced him, her frame small but fierce in the doorway. "She's done, Dad. Go to Lauren." I stayed upstairs, gripping the banister, listening to his pleas fade as he drove away. My heart didn't break again, it held firm. He'd chosen, and so had I. I called a lawyer the next morning, a woman named Karen with a no-nonsense voice. The house was half mine, paid with my receptionist wages as much as his bonuses. Divorce papers were drafted by week's end, days blurred into weeks, each one a step away from him. I sold my wedding ring at a pawn shop, the gold cold against my palm, and signed up for a painting class at the community center, something I'd always meant to try. The first session, I spilled blue paint on my jeans, and a woman beside me laughed, not mocking, but warm. Claire, her name was, with cropped silver hair and eyes that saw through people. She'd divorced 5 years back, she told me over coffee later, her ex a gambler who'd drained their savings. "You rebuild," she said, stirring her latte. "Piece by piece." We became friends, meeting for walks, then dinners at a taco truck near her place, the neon lights buzzing as we swapped stories. She didn't pity me, she just listened, and that was enough. One evening, Claire dragged me to a gallery opening, her friend's exhibit downtown. I hesitated, feeling out of place, but pulled on a green dress I hadn't worn in years, its fabric soft against my skin. The gallery was all sharp angles and warm light, paintings bursting with color. Claire handed me a glass of wine, her grin sly, and we danced to a jazz trio in the corner, my laughter startling me. I wasn't James's wife there, not the woman who'd cried over receipts. I was Hannah, alive, my pulse thrumming. That night, walking home under streetlights, Claire's shoulder brushed mine, and I felt something shift, a spark, not loud, but real. Claire became my North Star. Her apartment smelled of garlic and old books, and we'd cook there, burning rice and laughing till we coughed. She'd sit through my rants about James, his emails, always half apologizing, half defending. We had good years, Hannah, can't we talk? I'd read them to her, then hit delete, her nod all I needed. One rainy evening, she kissed me, her lips tentative but sure, rain tapping the window. I froze, my breath catching, then kissed her back, the world tilting into focus. It wasn't about erasing James, it was about claiming something for me. We moved in together a year later, a loft with creaky floors and a balcony overlooking the city. We'd sit there, her hand in mine, watching storms roll across the skyline, the air electric, work shifted too. I'd been a receptionist since my 20s, answering phones, smiling through boredom. Claire saw more in me, pushed me to try. I enrolled in a bookkeeping course, late nights studying while she quizzed me over pizza. I landed a job at a nonprofit, crunching numbers for community programs. My boss, Linda, was a force, brusque, with a smoker's rasp, but she saw my knack for budgets and made me manager 6 months in. The work was relentless, spreadsheets blurring my vision, but it was mine, built without James's name. My first big check bought a used Honda, navy blue, its engine humming as I drove to the coast alone one weekend. Standing on a cliff, waves crashing below, salt stinging my face, I felt it, the girl from that honeymoon, bold again, unbroken. James lingered like a bruise. Emily, still in touch with him, told me he'd moved in with Lauren, a paralegal 10 years younger. They split when she cheated, too, a detail that didn't surprise me. He'd call sometimes, usually late, his voice slurred, begging for coffee, for forgiveness. I'd hang up, block the number, my hands steady. His betrayal had gutted me, but I'd grown new roots, deeper ones. 2 years on, a LinkedIn notification pinged during a meeting. Someone viewed my profile 15 times. James. I pictured him hunched over his laptop, scanning my new title, maybe a photo of me and Claire at a fundraiser. My stomach flipped, but I didn't click his page. He didn't own me anymore. I told Claire nothing that night, just curled up with her, our cat, Miso, purring between us. Good day? She asked, her voice sleepy. Yeah, I murmured, kissing her forehead. Real good. 3 years after that night, he appeared at my office, unannounced. The receptionist's voice crackled through the intercom, hesitant. I walked out, saw him, grayer, his jacket wrinkled, no trace of the charm he'd leaned on. Alone, no friends to prop him up. Hannah, can we talk? He asked, almost whispering. I crossed my arms, the clock ticking behind me. 5 minutes. He rambled, Lauren gone, his job lost to layoffs, regret heavy in his voice. Then the ask, alone, just to get through. You're doing great, he said, eyeing my desk plaque. Manager, huh? I let the word sit, cold, remembering the keycard, the note, the nights I'd questioned my worth. Hold on, I said, stepping into my office. I wrote a check, handed it to him. His face lit, then fell, $65.20, a train ticket's worth, one way to nowhere. What's this? He muttered. Your exit, I said, voice like steel. You don't get to come back. He stared, mouth opening, but I turned away. Go, James. The door shut behind him, soft but final. Driving home, the city lights blurred, not from tears but clarity. Claire was in the kitchen, apron dusted with flour, miso weaving around her ankles. Tough one? She asked, catching my quiet. I told her, James, the check, his defeat. She set down her spoon, pulled me close. You drew the line. That's yours. We ate pasta, sauce too salty, and laughed when miso swiped a noodle. Later, we planned a trip, Monterey again, not to chase old ghosts but to write new stories, ones James couldn't touch. My job grew. I trained a new hire, a kid with Emily's stubborn streak. James was a shadow, fading fast. One night, in our kitchen, I diced peppers, Claire's off-key humming filling the air. Rain pattered outside, the room warm with onion and spice. "Smells like us," she said, grinning. I laughed, loud and free. "Damn right." Miso yowled, begging, and we tossed him a scrap, our voices tangling in the chaos. This was it, my life, my love, my victory. James had tried to shatter me, but I'd forged something stronger, and it was all mine.